وَلَا تُبَاشِرُوهُنَّ وَأَنْتُمْ عَاكِفُونَ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ. For those people who are observing the i'tikaf, it is not permissible for them, and we're talking about the wajib i'tikaf, we'll talk about this in a second. It is not permissible for them to engage in sexual intimacy with their wives while they're in the state of i'tikaf. Now, i'tikaf is basically the last 10 nights, as we know, of the month of Ramadan, the last 10 nights, which is the wajib i'tikaf. Now, let me just say a few things about, this. With the unanimous opinion of our scholars, i'tikaf is something that is basically in a community. It is something that even if one person is doing i'tikaf in a community, in a masjid, then the responsibility of doing i'tikaf from everybody's shoulders gets lifted. So it is a fardul kifaya. And kifaya means, or wajibul kifaya, in the sense that it is something that is mandatory upon us as a Muslim community, not individual, but as a community, that there should be somebody among us who has to actually observe, the i'tikaf of the month of Ramadan. It is not mandatory upon every individual. So as long as there is somebody doing it, or a group of people, or maybe a couple of people doing it, then the responsibility from the larger community, it gets lifted. This is number one. The second thing is the i'tikaf is not only limited to the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan. You can make i'tikaf even all of Ramadan if you want. But the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan are the last 10 nights in which the wajib i'tikaf is done. So there are two types of i'tikaf in the Sharia. One is the nafil i'tikaf, which is the voluntary i'tikaf, which you can do at any time. You don't even need for example, if I come into the masjid and I make niyyah that while I'm in the masjid, Ya Allah, I'm making niyyah that I'm in i'tikaf. While I'm in the masjid, the whole time I will get ajr for making i'tikaf until I exit, the mosque. This is the general nafil i'tikaf that everybody can do in the month of Ramadan. When you come inside the masjid, just make the niyyah, Ya Allah, I'm also making i'tikaf in the masjid. And when you leave the masjid, that would be considered nafil ajr, additional ajr for you for coming, into the mosque. But then there's the wajib i'tikaf, which we find in the various hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, this i'tikaf needs to be done in the last 10 nights of the month, of Ramadan. And the wajib i'tikaf has certain rules. And the rules of wajib i'tikaf are many. We're not going to go over everything. But the basics is that when you're observing the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan in i'tikaf, you have to stay in the masjid. You are not to actually go outside of the premises of what is known as the premise of the mosque, unless it is for something very, very important and something that you can't live without. You are not to engage in any kind of sexual intimacy. That is strictly prohibited. And also, the rulings that, you're not to engage in unnecessary conversation. You're not to engage in, unnecessary,